for the next few years? Well, we'll talk about this with our guest. Joining us on the broadcast is Daniel Bordman, journalist. Also with us on the show is Major General Dr. S.B. Asthana, strategic analyst. Ambassador Funchok Stobdan, former diplomat, also with us on the show. We have Amjad Ayub Mirza, foreign affairs expert, joining us on the program. Pramit Pal Chaudhary, senior journalist, with us on the show as well. Ravi Karkara, co-founder, the AI for Food Global Initiative and author of AI for Food Movement USA, is also joining us on the show. Thank you everyone for being a part of this conversation. Daniel, I'll begin with you. Thank you for joining us. I hope you can hear me.
Yep.
All right. Well, India wants the fair treatment of its deportees. Of course, just because they're illegal immigrants does not mean they can be shackled. Secondly, India also wants the Americans to realize that we are your partners. We are your partners against China. We are your partners when it comes to making America great again. Donald Trump believes in fair trade. He also feels that tariffs which are imposed by other countries, including the BRICS nations, is something that he will not stand for, and yet he wants to sell us defense equipment. There seems to be overlapping of interests over here. What do you think is going to happen at this meeting?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of stuff up front, but I think it's very productive for India. I mean, you have to look at the sort of the previous context, the last sort of 40 years of U.S.-India relations, and the West doesn't really understand too much about the region. They think they're friends with everyone. The Indians remember 1971 when it was, this is where the sort of Russian affinity really came off, because the U.S. wanted, they were not a great ally. They wanted half measures in the war against Pakistan and all that going forward. And what you've had in the last 40 years or so, maybe more, is the U.S. foreign policy in Southeast Asia has kind of been made for the Cold War and kind of put on cruise control. And it started to run into some problems because there hasn't really been a sensible update to where the region stands and all the different geopolitical players. This is what Trump really represents to the world, is sort of this new shakeup. And India stands to benefit greatly, and so does America. I think Donald Trump can rightfully see what I see, is that India is a burgeoning superpower, and sort of getting into the ground floor is going to provide huge benefits 10 years down the line, 5-10 years down the line. With the new Trump administration coming in, having a brand new geopolitical philosophy, it's something that India can really, really get behind, because India is, it's very in the middle and everything. I mean, India doesn't have like these massive global partnership networks. India does like bilateral relations. That's how they work in a foreign policy way, right? India is, looks at each country individually and tries to manage that in the region they live in. So with Trump coming in, this is kind of Trump's philosophy too, is like, I'm going to sit down in a business room, a board meeting with you, and we're going to talk about stuff that we need. So, I mean, India, like, okay, don't shackle the illegals coming back on the plane. Okay, fine. Is this a violation of human rights? No, guys, there's like 8 billion things more important, but the Indian media got carried away with it last week. Okay, so fine. When you deport illegals, make it look a bit nicer. Okay, that's an easy fix. But what it really comes down to is trade, okay? India wants U.S. weapons, because every reasonable country wants U.S. weapons. The one thing you should have learned from the Israeli strike on Iran, the second one, is, American and Western-backed weapons are far, far, far superior to the Russian-made weapons on every single metric. So having U.S. backed weapons, and then probably convincing them to stop selling them to Pakistan, puts India in a much, 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 much stronger regional position. So India wants that. They're happy to buy weapons from the U.S. because they're good weapons. They'll probably be happy to buy oil from the U.S. because every country needs energy. India isn't a giant, oil producer. They have they're a textile superpower. They can figure, right? They have 1.5 billion people. They're a huge consumer market. Between Modi and Trump, two business-minded people, they can work things out, right? We have money, you have money, we have people, you have resources, we have resources. We can figure this out. This is something India's very, very good at. It's just been stymied by, I think, what I see is U.S. foreign policy that's been on cruise control, and you've sort of had the inmates running the asylum. Like, I don't really think there's any, conscious top-down, let's mess around with Bangladesh. But there was people being paid tens of millions of dollars to mess around with Bangladesh, and that was just, general, center-left technocrats given their save the world money. They had to invent things to save the world, so they got carried away. This is all being rolled back. So a lot of India's regional concerns, which is the American shenanigans pulled in the region that for no good reason, that doesn't even benefit America, doesn't benefit India, and looks like it doesn't benefit Bangladesh either. Extrapolate that out further.
Right.
With Trump sort of shutting this down, and coming in with a much more India mindset of, all right, let's talk one-on-one. You got this, I got this. Let's make deals and do business. This is where India thrives. So it's really a shame that Canada couldn't have figured out, we have resources, India wants to buy our resources. Let's give them resources, they give us money. We couldn't figure that one out. Japan tried to offer us billions of dollars to buy our oil and natural gas, and we told them to kick rocks, and now they're buying it from America. So you're seeing this brand new philosophy in Trump, where the last 40 years of Southeast Asian policy and global foreign policy, it's kind of been put on cruise control in a lot of places. Not so much with, you look at like Iran, that's always been updated. Certain parts of the Middle East have been
right.
But the areas that America
Daniel,
has
I also
not been
want you to
focusing
reflect on what the stance that Donald Trump has taken against Canada. What do you make of
Yeah,
that?
I mean, what do you think of that? I mean, there's a lot of bluster. I mean, Canada's not going to become the 51st
turn
state.
it into the 51st stage, and Elon Musk constantly tweeting against your prime minister. Is that a sour point?
Yeah, I mean, the Canadian Liberal Party has gone very anti-Trump over the last few years, and they sort of antagonized him and had no plan for what would happen if Republicans ever became president. Like, they had no plan for what would happen if a Republican ever came back into office. It was insane. And Canada is, again, we're a human trafficking fentanyl economy. We're not a resource economy anymore. One of our provinces, British Columbia, basically hands out free opium to children, to anyone who wants. It's flooding the market with free opium. It's, in my view, British Columbia's existence is as dangerous as a nuclear bomb fallout. We just don't see the giant mushroom cloud. But every day that British Columbia is just allowed to hand out opium for free is causing this massive opium addiction glut in the market, because free opium and then siphoned opium is just flooding the market. It's insane. We're not even selling drugs. We're not even selling them. We're just giving them out for free. It's an absolutely insane thing. If we were at least profiting, but all this type of stuff is, it's aggravating Trump. I think you're going to start to see if there's security cooperations between India and America, and there's some reevaluation of how the West been messing around with this whole Khalistan thing. You could see, I don't think Donald Trump has any particular affinity for the Khalistan movement. I don't even think he understands what it is. But if the Indians just say, here's what it is, it's kind of terrorist, Pakistan, we'll buy lentils or something, and
do you really think so, Daniel?
Khalistan.
Do you really think so? Donald Trump has no clue about Khalistan and the Khalistani elements. He's spoken about the atrocities against Hindus in Bangladesh. So obviously, he's keeping an eye out.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I do think he has something. I think he's keeping an eye on it. I think he has good people around him. And I think I know some of the people who are listen, Donald Trump's the type of guy, if you can bring something to his attention, you could say, here's mobs of Islamists murdering Hindus. And he can actually see it. Like, he's special in the sense that he can watch a video of someone stating their motivations clearly. Like, I'm committing mass murder because these are my ideological motivations. Donald Trump is the type of guy who could say, yes, this is why he's doing it. Like, I always say, when it comes to Israel-Palestine, there's two different types of people. There's a group called Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and they're a terrorist organization. There's people who look at Palestinian Islamic Jihad and say, these might be a group of Palestinians interested in doing Islamic Jihad. That's a Trump type. And then there's people who look at that group and go, well, it's more complicated, maybe, but there's, right? So most of Western foreign policy has been group two. Donald Trump has sort of group one thinking of. He can look at something. So if Modi and the Indian government in a room can bring to him, hey, this is our problem with the Khalistan movement. Here's who these people are. Here's them saying all these crazy things. Here's a business. Because the Khalistan movement, right, in Canada, it's insane. They can provide a couple $100,000 to political parties here and there, and you can, get some money in that. But other than that, they have no value, right? If you were to get rid of the Khalistan movement, and then do deals with India, like our trade could go from 5 billion to 10 billion to 15 billion to 20 billion. That's real value. Like, India as a country has value to do business with. Khalistan as a fictional concept has none. Negative value, you can even argue. So if someone reasonable and competent in the Indian government can bring this issue up during negotiations, There's no reason why Trump would say, "Oh no, we really need Panoon running around threatening to blow up airplanes. That's a big part of my foreign policy." I don't think Donald Trump's going to be like, "Oh yeah, we need that lunatic to keep doing that."
Okay.
So,
All right. Okay.
you know,
All right. Great points, Daniel. Stay with us. Let me, in fact, also rope in Ambassador Stobdan into